What's going on out there, YouTube family? This is Sammy Lager here representing Team JVS. This is review for episode 16, episode 1 of season 4, the final season of Attack on Titan. Now, just to let you guys know, there's going to be a slew of Patreon full reactions of season 1 through season 3 reactions. There's going to be discussions, there's going to be reviews, it's going to be on our YouTube channel as well as on teamjvs.com. So prepare yourself for that. But let's go and break down this episode, which is called The Other Side of the Sea. Now, I will leave a disclaimer. This is a non-spoiler review. But I will say that none of the main characters that we know, aside from Zeke and Rainer, are in this episode at all. Matter of fact, this is actually pitfalling and pushing into another new character. This takes place, I believe, 6 to 9 years later. I think it's just 6, but I feel like it is 9 years later based on something that was discussed in one of the conversations with Rainer and Zeke before in the back half of the episode. But there's another new character called Faldo. So Faldo is this young man. He was literally in the very opening. You've seen it in the very first trailers that came up for it. He was just kind of laying up, looking into the sky, and he was like, I think one of his lines was like, "This is a very dangerous place." And it's just like, it's straight out of 1917. And he kind of gets up, and either his brother or his comrade or somebody that's close to him named Colt goes and leads him back to where the commander and the rest of the crew are. And you find out very quickly that all of them that are doing things on the front line are Eldian, but they're working underneath the Marleys. So the Marley military are using the Eldians to effectively take out any of the other opposition. Right now, the fights that's going on where they're happening in this episode is against, I believe, the Middle East allied forces. But essentially, the whole point is to take out anybody that's a part of the Paradise. The Eldians are completely, used and expendable, and are basically used as bullets for the purpose that the Marleys have. And it is, when you really think back to what is really fundamentally happened and how all this began and how they're being used and how they're being pitted against each other, it is sick. When you really think about the psychology behind what's really going on, like they're being associated and assimilated into this group by force and trained and conditioned to believe that anybody on that island is bad or have put them in a situation of them being oppressed and made to suffer because of just being alive. And it is a terrible existence. When you think about where these young people that are very young, one of the main persons outside of Faldo, her name is Zofia. Zofia, she is tenacious and very ambitious, and her whole goal is to be the successor of the Armor Titan from Rainer. I don't know if that's because of kind of like what they alluded with Aaron's father, that there's an expiration date, that the owl gave Aaron's father his form, Titan, and then of course he ended up getting the Founder's Titan's form, and then that got, of course, passed down to Aaron. But I don't know if this because there's an expiration date. I think that was the very last thing that we kind of heard, is that he only had a certain amount of time left. So I think that it's being passed down because of that, which is insane to really think about and comprehend. But anyway, in this episode, they're at the front lines, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, it seems like a really civil war. Then all of a sudden you see Titans out of nowhere. There's this one Titan called Gilliard that is just maneuvering around, like reminding me of that one Titan that old girl had, looked just like her Titan. Then of course you got that rolling Titan that's got like an armor-plated head with, it's got like a Gallic gun on it. It's just insane. Like the things that are actually happening and the war that's actually happening are insane. The moment we saw Rainer and Zeke in a plane with a whole group of people that kind of look like they're zombies basically being ready to be used, I was like, what is really going on? And it brings back to mention the things that we had no idea about in season 3. Bruh, that scene is probably one of the most insanely iconic scenes that I've seen in Attack on Titan. Like, it is eye candy. It is insane. The only real critique that I have is that with season 3, when Zeke, shows up as the Beast Titan and starts laying to waste everything, and the animation of what's going on, they're relying a lot more on compressed VFX CG animation than the 2D transitional with like effects that are happening in CG versus the actual characters completely in CG. Because like when they're moving as Titans, it's not as effective as it looks in season 3. I wish I could make a side-by-side comparison so you could see what the Beast Titan looks like in season 3 versus how it looks like in season 4. But it is a huge fundamental difference. Now, everything's going on. It still looks amazing. Everything's going on with the plot. It still looks dope. I feel like, though, from a cost standpoint, it probably transitionally was cheaper and quicker doing it the way they're doing it. It just loses, to me, the amazing part about what Attack on Titan is. Attack on Titan, even if I go back from the very first season, is one of the most beautiful, one of the most amazing looking animes I've ever seen. This including the actual storyline. So I think that for me was a negative. But outside of that, if you go sit there and do all this and give me this intense fight and battle just for the promise of one specific thing that I can't really talk about, you've done your job. Like, it's insane. Again, there's a commander, is it Margarth, that is leading Faldo, Code, Zephora, and her other free comrades. But it was just, the thing that I took away from this, it was just sad, bro. The Eldians are being used and abused to basically kill their own and feel like they are nothing. And I'm like, how did the Marleys how did this happen, bro? Like, it just is sad. When you really think about what's really going on, it's pretty messed up. But this is a really great opening episode. It's just, based on the outro and based on the intro, this season really isn't surrounding our main characters, which is a very different pace. But when our main characters do come, woo, boy, it's gonna be an amazing time. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that review. Make sure you leave a like, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell button, make sure you go and change this to all notifications. And if we want to give you a review number out of 10, 9.5 out of 10. Easily a great opening episode with new characters and new style. It is a little debatable. That's only 5% I take off of it. But other than that, it's a great time. Talk to you later. See you next week. Make sure you go and check out our Patreon so you can see the full entire episode reaction and reactions for other stuff as well. All right? Peace, guys.